is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
I am your father.
You like Huey Lewis on the news?
Yes. And you're not sure about this, are you?
You're gonna die, clown!
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss? Sir? The most you ever lost on a coin toss. Call it.
Whose motorcycle is this?
It's a chopper, baby.
Whose chopper is this?
Zed's.
Who's Zed?
Zed's dead, baby.
Bring out your dead!
This is a tasty burger.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Hello, welcome back to See What Sticks, a podcast about everything and nothing. I'm Russell.
And I'm Ben.
And Ben is back, as always. Emma's asleep, so that's why Emma's not here. But this week's episode is going to be, I guess every week's episode is different. It'd be weird if we just had a rerun of the show, which I've been thinking about doing as kind of a joke, re-releasing an old episode. Releasing 2 episodes one week, re-releasing one, and just doing the other one kind of like a rerun. But I don't know how people would take to that. They might think I'm just being an asshole. But, Ben, how have you been? What are you up to?
As of the past couple days, I've been fighting a pretty nasty head cold. So if I sound different to everybody out there in Podland, it's because my nose is either, I have one nostril that's stuffed, the other one's leaking like a sieve. So it's not been fun, but I'm pressing forward for the sake of the pod.
I understand, man. I had a pretty bad cold last time we recorded, which was like Thursday or Wednesday, until I think probably yesterday evening or this morning, and then I don't know if you guys can hear. I'm pretty much back to normal. I still can't smell everything. Like, you know when your sinuses are clear, but your sense of smell isn't completely back? That's kind of where I'm at. And for those of you listening at home, wondering why I sound much more comfortable, it's because I'm laying on a couch doing this episode because the desk and office setup I usually sit at is really uncomfortable, so I'm sitting at the sofa where I did the headphone review video for those of you who watched it. Shout out to that. God bless you, Ben. I know you didn't sneeze.
I apologize in advance if you hear like nose blowing sounds off in the distance or coughing. I will do my best to keep it off air as much as I can.
When I first started the show, I used to edit out coughs and things like that. But now I don't because I'm lazy and it makes the show sound more organic. So if you listen to the first like 2 or 3 episodes, there's these weird like gaps in sentences where it'll be like this and then it'll just jump to a different sentence. It's because I edited things out. I used to do that a lot. And now I just don't because I think the more organic feel of the show is just better. But yeah.
I'll definitely give the organic feel when I start blowing organic fluid out of my nose and everybody can hear it.
People like that. People like hearing reality. That's why people listen to podcasts rather than radio, because this is it's more like visceral, I think. Is that why people like listening to these? I have no idea. But yeah, how's school been?
Not bad. I had to miss actually a class or two this morning just because of my cold. I had to go to my German class because I had a test, which I probably thoroughly failed, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. So everything's going good. How about yourself?
Everything has been going really well. I guess I will announce this on the podcast and to you, Ben, personally. Tomorrow I'm meeting with a university to do a meeting about grad school because I'm going to go down that boat or down that river. So
really?
Yeah,
right.
I'm doing the grad school thing. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, I'm doing grad school. For those of you listening who personally know me and were wondering about that, yes, I'm talking to a school in Chicago, actually, about grad school because they have a really good film program, and I don't think you need to take the GRE to get in. Thank God. But yeah, because that would have been a nightmare for me to have to study for the GRE.
Well, all right. Congrats, man.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's happened yet. I have a meeting with this particular school. I'm not going to say any names just in case I switch schools or decide to do something else. I have a meeting with like an advisor at this school tomorrow at 3 p.m. So, for those of you listening. For those of you listening in the future, this episode's going to go out in the future. So, when you're listening to this meeting will have already happened. Because announcement, these episodes are going to come out on Sundays. So, just officially. But yeah, so Ben,
we can start your week by listening to us.
Yeah, it's the best way to start your week by listening to two guys, two middle-class white guys from the Midwest United States who are experts on nothing, which is the best way I know how to start my week. But yeah, Ben, what is the topic for this week?
Today we're getting political. No, I'm just kidding. It's the state of the pod.
It is the state of the pod. So I think we should start off. What is the movie that's like, it's best if you start from the beginning, go back to the middle, and then sequentially go back in flashbacks. There's like a movie where they make that reference. He's like, okay, just tell the goddamn story. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what
where
you're
he's
talking
like,
about.
this story is best told out of order. Where you go here, then you... It's from the movie The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a really obscure reference that no one got, and even I couldn't get. But Ben, I'd like you to talk about how you became the, besides Emma, the other host of the show.
I guess it basically just you had been doing the podcast for about a month, maybe month and a half or so. You had asked me, or you had told me about it in class, and we were just shooting the poo, and we were just like, yeah, we should, I should come on sometime. We'll talk movies, talk whatever. Unknown amount of time goes by from that conversation to, I believe after you graduated is when I had my first appearance, and basically from there it was just kind of like, it's working out well. Let me come back for another episode, and then I think I want to say it was like 2 or 3 episodes after my first appearance, you were just asking me like, hey, do you just want to be a part of the show? And I'm like, yes, I love coming on. I love talking with you guys. So yes, make me a part of this grand plan.
Exactly. And that for those of you wondering, because I've had a few friends, actually I had people ask me this last weekend when I was back at Purdue for the victory over Ohio State, that they asked from people who knew you from the major and people who just knew me and listened to the show, they asked, how did I know you, and how did I meet my co-host? And I kind of told them a very similar-ish story. And they're like, oh, that's really interesting that it just worked out that way. And yeah, and I guess for people wondering why there haven't been other co-hosts, like at the beginning there's a lot of different people who've been on or who were on. There's like 9 different people or 8 different people or whatever. It's just because everyone's been busy, and it's because Ben and I record at very interesting times. Ben has a life, I also have a life, and people are busy. And I'd love to do more episodes with me, Ben, and another person. And there's a few I have kind of cooking that when their schedules line up with mine and Ben's, that we'll do them. But yeah, that's kind of how this goes. Because I've had a few people ask, well, why haven't you asked me to come back on? Or why haven't you had other people? It's essentially just a scheduling and logistic thing. Because for those of you who don't know, Ben and I kind of record randomly. When we record once a week, but it's us texting each other like, hey, are you free to pod tonight? And then he's like, no. And then I'll be like, yes. And then I'll be like, no, for one night. And then we just find a night that works. And we usually record around 9 to 11 p.m. So that's difficult for a lot of people who live ordinary lives. And for us, it seems to work really well. And it's one of the systems of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And yeah, especially for me, like the hours between like 9 and 11 work best for my family life in particular, because the kids most days go to bed, around a normal childhood time, like 8 o'clock, and so that gives me time to unwind, go smoke a cigarette. Don't do that, everybody. Smoking's terrible. But yeah, it's basically, this is just how it works for us. If it'll keep working for us in the foreseeable future, who knows? I'm sure whatever, life changes happen will make it work.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing about doing this show is making it work. I have quite a few people, some friends, some like acquaintances, not that like, if that is you, thank you for asking. And I mean, some people are closer to me than others. They ask about the show and how I do it each week, or like, that's so cool that you do the show each week. The biggest thing is consistency. Even if it's like really shitty or you're going through a bad week or something, if you have a show, try to do it at least once a week. I know some people do a podcast 3 times a week, which is crazy. I mean, in theory, yeah, I could do 2 a week, but I don't know if I want to unless there's a reason that I would. I like the once a week format because it lets Ben and I actually formulate stuff and enjoy doing it instead of it becoming a chore. And that's not what I want this to become at all. So for those of you who want to make a podcast, or those of you listening, the biggest thing is find someone you like talking to and just do it. And don't be embarrassed about what you're going to say, because everyone fucks up. Everyone says stupid stuff. And if you really find it embarrassing, go and edit it out. That's a big thing. You can edit this out. It's not live. And I think that's my like little piece of advice that I've learned doing this show. Is the biggest thing is find someone, like when Emma's on, Emma and I talk very well on the show because of it's Emma and I. And for those of you who don't know, Emma and I are in a relationship. And then when Ben and I are on, Ben and I are not in a relationship, but Ben and I are friends. So you have to find someone like that. And you have to find someone, I think, who you're friends with, but also not just friends with on a one-dimensional level. Like, not just friends because of, oh, we both like this. You have to find someone you actually are like compatible to talk to, because that's a big thing.
Yeah, and I think us both being in a very specific area of education, and now you're post education. If you get to grad school, you'll keep going with that. But yeah, we both had the same major. We both had the same interests. So yeah, find someone, like, if you don't want to do the podcast by yourself, find someone that loves doing and talking about the things that you like to talk about.
Yeah.
And even bigger thing, like if you want to do podcasts like 2-3 times a week, the most difficult part about that is like the professional podcasters and even the semi-pros that are able to do that. They have a set like structure. They have different segments of their podcast and topics to talk about. So like they're not just going in like how we do it. We find a topic to talk about, and then we just kind of, for an hour to an hour and a half, we just shoot the shit about it, and whatever comes, or whatever sticks.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that you touched on. And I think coming up with a formula, or a format rather, is big, in finding your voice. So for this show, I will be the first to say that we are not experts on, I mean, there's a few things that we have an expertise on just because, like, educationally or whatever, but we are not the news. We are not professional reviewers. We are not that. We are just people who like talking and have enjoyable conversations, and we're also not comedians. So I wanted to make that really known when I first started the show, that I'm not trying to be a stand-up comedian on the show, even though there's things that we do that may be funny. We are more just talking in a way that if you were, almost like if you were just listening to our conversation, you'd find it interesting or somehow insightful, or be like, oh, that's an interesting take. We're not, I mean, if you laugh and you love listening to it, I mean, that's why we do it. But there's some podcasts that are comedy podcasts. And according to iTunes, this is a comedy podcast because I think that's the only thing you could lump it into. Because we're not like political, we're not drama, there's no narrative, and we're just kind of talking. And I think that's the best for some people. where you have like, I mean, I write notes for the show. And I think Ben writes some notes for the show, probably the same as I do. And yeah, I think finding your voice and understanding who you are is big. Like, don't fake it. If you're like a funny dude, be funny. If you're not a super, super funny guy, don't be funny. Like, if you need to write a script, write a script. But if I write a script, I get all weird Nancy, so I can't do that.
Yeah, same. If I have a script, I think more oftentimes than not, I come off like I'm reading from a script.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten down that sort of voice and tone to where it sounds natural and not reading off a copy or something like that.
Yeah, I've done a few voiceover things for different projects that I've done professionally and personally, and I am not great at voiceover work, but I think it's fun, especially because I do this, but I am not amazing at it. And also, there's a reason we don't do a video podcast. Not just because we do this over Skype, which we can just do a screen capture thing and just see Ben and I, but also I'm really weird in front of a camera and I get super anxious. So that's why the video side of this is kind of a little experiment. But yeah. So Ben, what, if you had to describe this show to somebody who's never listened to a podcast before, say it's somebody who would be like your parents' age, maybe they don't know what podcasts are. How would you describe this show in particular?
I think I would say the best way to describe this is 2 to 3 people, depending if Emma is on or not, basically just having a conversation as if we were like, talking over drinks, but minus the drinks. Sometimes every now and then I might have a glass or something, but yeah, it's really just a conversation. We talk about what we'd like to talk about. We might put down some lists. We throw out some insightful sort of opinions that we might have, or at least I hope we throw out insightful ones. So other people might differ in their opinions, but yeah, it's just really a free-form conversation that goes out to a mass audience. And
in theory, really a mass audience. But yeah, I think that is a perfect description of what it is that happens here. And yeah, that's actually, I don't think I could have said it better myself. But yeah, I think the other thing is, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, if you're doing this, you have to know that you are essentially sending this out to nobody. Like, it's like taking a bunch of notes you've written, or it's like taking a video project you've written and throwing it down a well or throwing it off a building and hoping that someone sees it. Or like a stack of newspapers or a stack of like help wanted ads and throwing them into the wind, and maybe a few of them land. And that's how it works. And you just do that every week. And you can't let the numbers discourage you. Frankly, I never even look at the statistics. I just keep posting it everywhere because it's one of those things, eventually it'll work. If you do something long enough, you become successful at it. And I think that's a big thing. Like, don't expect for a lot of people to listen. Even if one person listens and enjoys it, that's kind of like, we've done our day's work or whatever. And that's kind of why you do it.
Yeah, for sure. And if we get fortunate enough to where that one person that listens enjoys it enough to where they want to share it with someone else, then that's just going to be exponential growth as that keeps going.
Yeah,
and we do encourage everybody. If you like the show, share it.
Yeah, and that's why I always joke, or I joked a lot more before, where I'm like, even if you don't like the show and you have someone you hate, send it to them, and maybe they'll be annoyed. Like, I just joke about it, but it just happens in time. And I think the biggest thing that someone asked me recently-ish, within the last month, they're like, do you want to go viral? And my answer was no, because going viral implies 2 things. They're only looking at you for that one piece of content, and 2, it's unsustainable. I would rather have this take 5 years to get successful and stay continuously successful than to go viral. And some people would disagree with that. Some people would think I'm an idiot for saying that. But I don't do this for money. I mean, in theory, yeah, there is money that comes from this because there are ads and stuff. But basically, my philosophy about the show is until there's enough money coming off the show to fully support myself and Ben, I will just reinvest the money back into the show to like buy new gear, do something like that, rather than to use it for myself, because I think that's a big thing. I know on YouTube they just changed it where you have to have a certain amount of subscribers, and I think you have to have 1,000 hours of view time in the course of a year to be able to get any monetary compensation for your videos, which I get. I do get that. And this podcast is different, even though it does go to YouTube. But yeah, I don't know. I think if you do it for money, you're not going to become successful in the way you want to, because success, like money, won't make you happy. You have to do something that you have fun with, and that'll make you happy. And if you get paid for it, that's awesome. If you don't, you're still doing something fun.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people that think that keep a lot of people to keep in mind is those that think that they can turn a quick dollar doing podcasts, and they use examples of their favorite podcasters or something. They really got to remember that a lot of the big name podcasters, they didn't just start from scratch and become huge. Mm-hmm. They had prior gigs. There's people that already had like comedy careers before this, or sports writing careers, or film critic careers. They had an established name and set of connections beforehand, and they just happened to say like, "Hey, let's start a podcast. We already have name recognition. It's going to go big no matter what." So yeah, the chances of someone making it big monetarily, just starting a podcast from nothing, is pretty slim.
Yeah,
I hope people realize that.
Yeah, and I have a buddy who talked to me pretty recently who wanted to do a podcast, and his first question was a financial question, and I told him very bluntly, you have to be exceptionally charismatic and talented or exceptionally lucky. And yeah, what you're saying, a lot of people are famous. Like, I think the biggest podcast, like there's WTF with Mark Maron, there's like the Joe Rogan podcast, there's a bunch of other ones like The Basement Yard, which is like Joe Santagato, the guy on YouTube from New York. His is really big, but all those guys had a following beforehand. Like Joe Rogan was the Fear Factor guy, the MMA stand-up comedian. Joe Santagato,
decades-long careers prior to the invention of a podcast.
Yeah, and there's a few guys I know that have gotten big because of a podcast. There's like, I could name maybe 2 or 3 that they started doing podcasts and they just hit this like specific market and boom, like that worked. And that's also why I have the format I do with this show with Ben. And that's why I'm super stoked that Ben likes this format, speaking about Ben in the third person when he's here. Because this is, a lot of people try to come up with a really, you have like some sort of structure where there's a beginning, middle, and end. And this is the way I like to think about it when I think about the podcast in my own mind, is it's just 2 guys talking. I mean, we have an introduction and like an outro sort of thing, but it's just essentially 2 guys talking. And if you're in the car or on the bus and you just want to have that sort of feeling that there's 2 people who are potentially friendly, I have no idea. I don't know how I come off in public, which is what I'm going to talk about next. If you like are just sitting there like listening to like friends talk, that's sort of the mindset I go into with this show. And yeah, I try not to be too much of a dick. And Ben, do you want to talk about like personal versus like how you are on the podcast?
Honestly, I try and be as authentic to who I actually am on the podcast versus, if you were to just run into me at the grocery store. I may be like a little bit more consciously like polite and nice in the public, just because I like to, that's just how I like to be. I don't feel like I'm like a mean, jerky person on here, but like, I always try and have a smile for people, like for strangers, anywhere I go, help them out if they need it, just because like the world is full of bad, like toxic shit already. So like, why not brighten someone's day with a smile, or hold the door for them, grab something for them, just be a nice, good person.
100%. I completely agree with that. And with this show, I'm being a lot more genuine how I am and how I talk. But most of the shows, yes, it is me. My name is Russell, but it's kind of an act. I am not usually that manic in real life. I'm pretty I'm kind of an extrovert, but I'm not that hyper when you talk to me in normal situations. But yeah, I think that's a big thing, is if you're... I don't know how to put this. Maybe you know how to put this better than I do. But if you are uncomfortable sharing certain parts of yourself on a show, it can help to be like a character version of it. Like how the Stephen Colbert show, that's not really him. Like that is him, right, but he's playing a character of himself. And I do that. I mean, I've told people on this show about like my epilepsy, other stuff like that. So I get like, there are personal episodes, but most of it, like, I am not this person 100% of the time. Like, I don't think you could be. You wouldn't. That's not a sustainable way to live. You would actually go crazy. And I think that's a big piece of advice, and something I've learned about the show is you have to have episodes where you're like that, but then you have to have episodes where you're just totally not. And I can definitely speak for myself and Emma and Ben, because I know Emma probably agrees with most all the things that I'm saying and Ben's saying, even though she's not here. Hi, Emma. But throughout the course of the last year, life happens to people, and you gotta like be able to, if you're doing a show, regardless if you have 100,000 people listening, 100 people listening, whatever, you just gotta you gotta put on the game face. And if you're like an entertainer or a public figure or whatever you would consider us, you just gotta kind of like do it. And you can get personal on certain episodes, but you just kind of do it. It's just like going to work or whatever.
Yeah, I can personally attest to that from last week. For anybody that's a longtime listener, they might have noticed that I might have been a little bit extra distant, quiet, I guess, from last week's episode. But that was because I was going through a bit of a personal life experience that truth be told, would or did not want to go through. Mm-hmm. Not anything under my control, but like you said, like you treat this like a job. I chose to come on the show that week just because this is something that we do together. It's just something that some people expect to listen to every week. So I don't want to disappoint them due to my own personal bullshit that I don't want to let that get in the way of someone else's entertainment.
Yeah. I totally know what you're saying. I 100%. Yeah, for real. Like, I know that's like the dumbest response to what you just said, but you can't really say anything else. It is, if you're doing this show and you want to do it seriously, do it. It's one of those, like, it sounds dumb. Just do it. Life happens, but yeah, if people are depending on you or there's like someone listening, and when I first started the show, I think I knew everyone who listened. And now there's more people who listen, and I put this out on like LinkedIn and Facebook, and there's people on like the groups who I don't know, and I put it on YouTube. I don't know some of these people, and if you're listening, thank you for listening. Like, I genuinely appreciate it. I know Ben genuinely appreciates it. I know Emma does. And I know not enough people say that to their listeners. Like, we do legit appreciate the listeners, because you don't have to take an hour out. That actually reminds me of a point I made in my phone, that if you're doing a podcast, come up with a time format that works for you. We do an hour. We just do until we kind of are like, okay, we're done. Some people do 15-minute shows. Some people do, like, Joe Rogan has gone for 4 hours on his shows. In theory, we could do 4 hours. I think we would both go crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you have to come up with, like, a time frame that it works for you. I think I always try to shoot for between an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. I've gotten people asking why. It is not for monetary reasons. The platform I upload on, which is called Spreaker, rewards you for 1 minute the same it would reward you for 1,000 minutes. So it's not a financial thing. Like, that is not why I'm doing it like this. So yeah, that does squash that, because I know on YouTube, if you go over a certain amount of time, you get another ad, like commercial spot or something. I don't know how YouTube stuff works very well, even though I do upload to YouTube. I'm very clearly not a professional at this. But yeah, you just have to find what works. And, here's my question for Ben and for those of you listening. Also, if you're listening, you can contact us. Or I know I put all my stuff out there. I'll start putting Ben's stuff out there if Ben wants me to. I mean, we can talk. Oh, yeah, and you can literally ask us questions online or on the Facebook group or on YouTube. If you comment, I will see it. I mean, I have it on my phone. And I mean, not to get too weird and into it, I have 2 accounts. Like, you know, on email, like, I have the podcast email, my personal email. I have, like, the 2 YouTube accounts open. So I check both of them. So if you do message, I will see it. And if you're cool, I'll message you back, especially if it's on Twitter. I hate Twitter. I do. But that's the easiest way to get a hold of me, because it rings on my watch and on my phone. And so, yeah.
We'll have to do a mailbag episode once we get enough messages, hate mail, what have you.
Oh, yeah. I would love to, when we get enough people, I would love to set up a P.O. box and have people send us shit.
Like physical letters.
Yeah, I would love that. If people sent us letters, I wish I could go back in time and redo the show and have no one know what I look like, and have them do police sketches of me, like concept of what they think I look like, which I think would be hilarious, because I have no idea what my voice makes me sound like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they don't know what you look like, because I don't think you don't have any pictures of me on my Instagram. So, for all of you out there, Ben looks like Jason Statham.
Not that sexy.
Yeah. No, Ben, you look like Jason Statham at this angle. You have, like, the stubble. You have, like, the earrings. You have the bald head. You got it.
I'd kill for Jason Statham looks.
Jason Statham, it looks like that guy who would just, like, walk into a bar and just tell you, like, I'm gonna go fuck your mom. And you'd be like, okay. Like,
nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, and he's like, see that girl of yours? And you're like, yeah. He's like, well, she's mine now. You're like, ah, shit, okay. Like, I guess he's right. Yeah, that's Jason Statham. A guy this week at the gym told me that I look like Eli Manning. I do not look like Eli Manning.
There's a hint. Like, not that much, though.
Sorry, guys. Ben is dying on the show.
I had a rolling sneeze there. I tried to jump away from my microphone as quickly as possible.
Do I look like this guy? I know this is bad radio.
Who is that?
He's a news reporter.
You look a lot like him, actually.
Yeah. His name is Jonathan Vigliotti. I don't know what channel he's a news reporter. My dad sent me that picture, and he's like, dude, you look like him. Right now I have a beard. Or I'm doing a beard for No Shave November. For, like, men's mental health. Guys, if you have mental health stuff, go get that checked out. Go see a psychiatrist. No, seriously. That's important. But, yeah, my dad said I look like him. So if you look up Jonathan Vigliotti, apparently I look like him. And people have said I look a little like Michael Phelps, which I kind of take offense to, because I don't find Michael Phelps very good looking.
He's got that weird fish body.
He does have that weird fish body. And he's like, he has big goofy ears, and I don't have big goofy ears, like Adam Driver ears. I don't have Adam Driver ears. But yeah, honestly, I think it's really interesting to do a state of the podcast because when I first started this, I genuinely thought I would quit by episode 10. And then I just kept doing it, and more people kept liking it. And and then I got Ben on board, and now Ben and Emma on board consistently. I know Emma's been on and off lately because Emma has life and her schedule. Emma gets up at like 5 a.m. for work every day, or like 4 a.m. It's ridiculous. So she can't really podcast late. And then Ben and my schedule, we can't podcast earlier really because Ben has kids and I'm just a weird low life who doesn't do anything. So they don't match up. So that's why Emma hasn't been on the show a whole lot, for those of you wondering. And yes, but I think, that's a big thing that I realized is having a co-host also keeps you grounded. I've done episodes by myself, which is just me ranting, which is fun once in a while. And I want to do a thought experiment where I have Ben run an episode. I want to have a Ben run episode. I mean, I'll still do the production-y side because I have all the microphones and stuff. But I want to have Ben do a whole episode and we switch places. I think that would be super fun.
I think prior to that, you might have to do one of those, like on a Blu-ray disc. It's like the thoughts and opinions expressed by this person are not that of the show or the company thereof.
That would be hilarious. I will edit one of those in, like the entire, like really fast one at the beginning, and it's like, welcome back. This is a Ben Run episode. Oh man. But
depending on the week's events, I might be going off on a tangent like this. Can you believe this motherfucker this week?
And then I'll just be like, yeah, definitely. So I'll have to do my best Ben impression. But yeah, if you're out there and you want to send us free shit, please send us free shit. I don't care if you're a sponsor or a regular person. Send us stuff. Just make sure it's not anthrax. Like, that's what I don't want. I don't want anthrax or human feces. Or like stuff like that. But if it's like a cool thing,
any feces is off limits.
Yeah, no feces. But pretty much almost next to anything else we'll be cool with, as long as it's not dangerous. Yeah, don't send us weapons either. Like, I don't want to get like some sort of felony charge for people sending us weapons or drugs.
I have my own, ladies and gentlemen. I don't need any more.
Yeah, actually, if you want to send us drugs, I'll put my link in the description. Send me drugs. I'm just totally kidding. But no, just kidding. Do send me drugs though, for real. We'll do all the drugs and we'll do them live. We'll do like a live show on air, just doing a lot of drugs and just be totally whacked out. And just like, hey, what's up, guys? Speaking of that, I was thinking there is a function on this thing that I do, on the platform that I upload to, which is Spreaker. You can do a live episode.
Ooh.
I would love to do a live episode and have different friends of yours and mine call in.
Okay.
Like an unfiltered live episode where you, like, we'd have to tell the people beforehand, like, hey, we will be calling you at blank time for 15 minutes. And it's almost like a Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode. It's like, and they're like, they can say the topic and we have to roll with the punches. Like an improv episode.
Yeah. We could totally do that.
Or we can just do, like, we can give that a shot on a normal recorded episode and literally, like, on our phones, like, dial the numbers and have our phones out and do it that way and just talk to people and then, like, our friends or whoever, and then go on to the next person and do 4 of them for 15 minutes. I think that'd be super cool.
It would definitely keep us on our toes.
It would, and like they can come up with whatever topic. I mean, within a certain like guideline, but like you just can't hit these specific like issues. But anything else, let's do it. That's just something I've been thinking about doing, and that it takes a lot of trust from people we call. There are very specific people who I would and would not call with that kind of thing. But yeah, Ben, what's up?
Did I go out on your side?
Yeah, on my angle. So for those of you who are listening first time, Ben and I are on a video call and recording through there. Ben's face right now looks as if he's getting strangled.
Maybe I am.
Ooh.
And I'm just a very good talker while I'm getting strangled. No, I got poor connection right now, but I can still hear you clearly.
So, yeah, that's a little bit of that. I'm going to ask a few questions of Ben now, and we'll get back to this topic. Ben, you were talking about smoking a cigarette. So, I have a philosophical question for you. Would you still smoke if no cigarettes were at all of any harm to you, but 1 out of every 100,000 cigarettes on the market, or 1 out of every million cigarettes on the market, had like neurotoxin in it and instantly killed you?
I don't think I would take the risk.
Okay, no, it's just interesting.
Because just like, of all the cigarettes that I've smoked in my life,
mm-hmm.
if you said 1 out of every 100,000, I would have hit that one by now.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, that's just interesting. There was that was in some sort of article I read recently where it gave people that scenario where it was that almost the exact same thing, but it's instead of that it had a bomb in it. So it blew you up. But that's kind of intense. It would just like if you put your lips to it, it instantly kills you. And I think that's just really interesting. For those of you out there who are wondering, I do not also smoke. But yeah, that's just me. I'm not going to tell people what they can and can't do. I think I actually talked about that on the epilepsy episode, though. On like my physical eating and habits and stuff, and staying really healthy. That's why the episode's so late. I was actually at the gym late. I was going to go earlier, but a bunch of stuff came up today, so I had to go really late tonight. And that pushed back this episode because I'm a real self-centered piece of shit. But yeah, Ben, what are your goals for the show for, let's say, it is October 22nd, 2018 right now, for those of you listening closest time. If you're listening in the far future, that's awesome. If you're listening in the past, thank you for inventing time travel. What is your goal for October 22nd, 2019 of See What Sticks?
Basically, I hope that enough people begin to listen that we can kind of build a rapport with our listener base to where we can maybe more consistently have or be able to answer, tweets, emails, stuff like that, to where, we can have dialogue back and forth between us. So maybe our audience base will become kind of like a third or fourth member of the group. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. I think that would be really incredible, and I think it'd be really fun in that. By that time, I also do think that will happen, because we're getting there, and that's the most important part about all this, is you're just getting there. You have to keep moving. I think it'd be really fun to have some sort of scenario where we have like a guest on the show, like a listener. I think that'd be really interesting. And I haven't ever heard of a podcast doing that. Note, I don't listen to every podcast in the world. I will count them for you right now, just so. And maybe those of you listening know of a podcast show that does that. Well, they'll have a fan on. So on my podcast app, which I use Overcast, not a sponsor, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. I have 48 podcasts on here. So, and one of them is See What Sticks, just so I can make sure that the episodes upload properly. I do not listen to my own show. I am not that big of a narcissist. But I do like knowing what the episodes sound like, so after they upload, I will hit play on my phone just to see what they sound like coming out of a mobile device. But yeah. So, what would you want to add to the show, Ben?
I think, and we kind of touched on the the format of the show being like a free form, no rules really, but I think eventually I would like to maybe like have a couple of like reoccurring segments.
Yes.
Whether we talk about a specific thing, or maybe even like a stupid game that we play. But something to like, I don't know, just something to like kind of spice things up a little bit. Not that the show is bland or dull by any means, but you know what I'm saying, like a reoccurring segment.
I had an idea. So for that, totally separate, that I had a while ago. Like, this is episode like 49 or 50. I had this episode, I may have mentioned on the show in like episode like 8. So there's this thing that you can buy online that is essentially, you can have two different people have it, and it's like these, like those pieces of gum or that pen you used to have like in grade school, and it shocks you when you like click it.
Yeah.
It's like that, but two separate people can have them, like in different parts of the world, and you can like set it up for it to zap you.
That sounds like torture. Let's do it.
I think I have to look up what it is and how it all works exactly, but I think that should be a reoccurring thing, like a Jeopardy thing, except it's based on pain. And it will have it with the microphone, so you can hear it buzz, and you can hear our actual hands getting zapped. But I think that would be a very fun reoccurring segment.
Yeah, we would have to base it around like some trivia, or just plain like what's happened this week.
Yeah, I definitely.
And I would definitely have to move outside, because when I experience sharp pain, I tend to curse very loudly.
And you also have small children.
Yes.
So, what? Okay. Yes, I think we should have a recurring segment. If anyone has an idea, please let us know. And I think we're going to try to implement one very soon as a reoccurring gag or segment. I know that we do have the special guest, Christopher Walken, who does show up every now and then now. So he'll be around, but he's a pretty big celebrity. He's hard to get on the show. So when Christopher Walken is on, we will tell you. And when Christopher Walken's on, unfortunately, for legal reasons, I can't be in the same room. So he has to step in and I have to leave. So just for those of you wondering. But yeah, I was thinking about doing that. Or I think it'd be fun. This would be a harder thing to do, but do like skits somehow.
Okay.
Like, or there's a podcast I listened to called Lights Camera Podcast, or now it's the Lights Camera Barstool, that they got actually sponsored by a bigger company, which is Barstool Sports, which is something else I was going to ask you about in a sec. And they did one that was like, KARS, Cars for Kids.
Yeah.
They did one, it was like a spoof of it, and they used the same music, and they did Cash for Trill, and that's one of the guys' names. He's like, CASH, Cash for Trill. And they just did a whole skit, and it was that. And I think that'd be funny to do something. Then you just like edit it in. But I think we can do that. And oh yeah, what would you say, Ben? And I know I'm asking Ben live, or not live. But say if this podcast got picked up by a podcast network, would you be for that or against that? Because I have an opinion, but I want to know what you think first.
I guess it depends on the network, obviously. Like, what's there? What do they have in mind for our show? What is their network kind of all about? What kind of philosophy do they have? I wouldn't be totally against it, really, because it's all it is it's more opportunity for a bigger viewership, or listenership, I should say. Just to get our show out there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm not totally against that. I think it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. Like I said, it really depends on the specific network that would want to pick us up.
Yeah, you said that actually a lot more positively than I was going to, but I in general think it is a cool idea, not necessarily a good idea. Just because the whole cliche term selling out. I don't want to be that kind of show or that kind of person or that kind of co-host. But I mean, if it was the right situation, yeah, I would. And I think an even more fun thing to do is with success would be to start a podcast network.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the channel that I'd want to go down more than anything else, is really build a audience, build people who genuinely like the show, and then with friends and other people I know who are smaller podcasts, have them be part of like the See What Sticks network. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really interesting thing to do. I know another podcast recently, they started their own podcast network, and they're doing quite well. And I think they have like 12 shows in the network. And I think it'd be fun, but I am someone who likes having a bit of creative control. And with this show, of course, we split the creative control on like, what do you want to do with the show? What do you want to do sort of thing, and meet in the middle. But I don't know if I'd want to have some overarching person over this. And that's why I like this show more than... I worked for a radio station for a little bit, and I didn't like that because on the FCC guidelines, there's a bunch of words that you can't say, like fuck and shit. And I like saying those on the show occasionally. So that's why I don't like that. And I do the show on here, and I like this because no one really gives me any rules.
Yeah, I think that would have to be a big stipulation in order to be picked up by a network, is that, you know, we understand, like, you know, we're coming under your roof to be a part of your network, but you guys also have to let us do our thing.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you want to pick us up. It's because we've been doing our thing our way for so long. You got to keep letting us do that.
Yeah, yes, that is really, 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 really true. And I, honestly, if we even were in talks to do it, which we 100% are not, but if we were in talks to, that would kind of be like, yeah, if we want to go under your roof, that's cool, but if you start messing with us, fuck your roof, we're out. And I think that's kind of a big thing for me, and that's not me just being a rebel and this show being rebellious. I love the way this show is, and I mean, yes, you always can grow and change and adapt and become better every week, but I like the casual attitude of this show, and Ben and I don't have to be fake on here, and when Emma's on, she doesn't have to be fake, or when another co-host on, we can just say what we want to say within reason and have fun. And I think that's something that I've seen in podcasts recently. You can tell when people are genuinely, even if they're having a bad day, when they're genuinely like, yeah, welcome back to the show, and people are like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah, look, I think most of the podcasts I listen to are comedy based. Mm-hmm. So I don't get a lot of that. Like people, like the hosts that are doing those shows, they seem to genuinely just like love what they do. So they always come back either obviously laughing because of someone they're talking to, or they're just like, I have the best job in the world.
Yeah,
I get to make people laugh. I get to laugh myself, and you know I'll pick up some ad revenue from that. Yeah,
100%. I thought a really funny skit or gag we could do on the show is product reviews of physical things, but we're in audio format. I thought that would be really funny. Just to literally review a product and just be like, guys, can you see how cool this is? Just do the worst radio possible and just have it be like an anti-joke.
I think that could go on for maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
And then we both get really upset.
Our minds.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I did the thing with the headphones on camera last week. It's so difficult. I had to write so many notes. I'm like, I hate this. I hate having this format. Yeah, and then I think, yeah, that's all been really good. I think it's important with this show and for people listening to understand where we're coming from when we make the show, because that gives a little bit of transparency and not just like we're phoning it in every week. And I think that's a really good thing to not have to phone it in, because if I did 4 episodes a week, even there's a few times a long time ago when I first started the show, I could definitely go back and look and tell you what episodes they were, but I recorded like 6 episodes in 1 week.
Oof.
Yeah, and by like episode like 5, I was like, I legitimately don't want to do this for a very long time. And luckily I didn't have to do it for a month. But I it taught me a lesson that if I need to backlog them, cool. But doing one show a week for right now with the situation that we're in is the best thing. Because stretching yourself too thin leads to burnout.
Yeah, I mean, we're not making Pat Sajak, Alex Trebek shoot 5 shows on a Monday to last all week, like type of money. So
yeah, and I mean,
I think I could stand it a little bit more if I was getting paid as much as those dudes, and then working, whole 12 to 13 hours a day just recording shows. But because for anybody that doesn't know, those type of syndicated game shows, they basically they film their week's worth of shows on a 1 day per week.
Yeah.
And then they just, they space it out and air it throughout the week.
Yeah. There's a show that a lot of people who listen to this may know. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. They're called Good Mythical Morning. They're on YouTube. They have their own podcast called Ear Biscuits. And I know for those guys, Rhett and Link, they backlog their episodes. So they'll probably record... I know they don't do every morning, even though they release the show every morning. They'll probably do 5 in a day, and then maybe for 2 or 3 days, they'll do 5 each of those days. And then they won't record for 2 or 3 weeks. So they can come up with new episodes, and then log them, come up with episodes, backlog them, come up with episodes. And I think that's probably the best way to do it if you have that format.
Yeah. Because, I mean, sometimes you just have, a handful of ideas that you feel like you can riff on for hours on end, and the best way to do that is record 2-3 episodes in that session, and you got it all done. But sometimes the opposite's true. Sometimes you just need to one idea at a time, space it out, record the next one in a week like we do. It's just however the show evolves, we'll work with what we get.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a really, really, really interesting thing that we could do as a recurring segment is, so a lot of people online review things. I think it would be really, really interesting. I'm not saying that we should. I think it'd be interesting to review people's reviews.
Ooh. We have a set standard for a 1 to 5 stars. Is this a 5-star review?
Yeah. Is this review a good review?
We could work with that.
I think that'd be
I'm sure we could find some gems on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. You can do Amazon, you can do Yelp, you can even do YouTube reviews, people reviewing things, and be they missed this big thing, or this is an unfair criticism because... Yeah,
or you give 5 stars, yet you are not taking into consideration this, that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really interesting thing. And then in the description of the show, we link the actual review. But I was thinking we could do that and start that as a segment, and then both find a review or find 2 reviews and compare and contrast why it's a good review of the same product and why it's a bad review, and look at the same thing. Because... doing Amazon reviews is really interesting because you can have a product that, for instance, let's say it's a hammock, one of the ones that people have on college campuses, and one person gives it a 1-star review and one person gives it a 5, and we break down why that person gave it a 1 and why that person gave it a 5. I think we could do that.
And then if we get lucky, we could possibly even contact the reviewer.
Yeah, and be why did you say this? Or what was your logicale in this? Not in a mean way, but just being really honest. Why did you feel this way, and can you back yourself up? Or are you just pissed? Because I think that's really interesting, because a lot of times I'll read reviews. I was recently at a hotel in New York, and I love the hotel. It was really, really, really nice. That's my review. But there's people who are I give it a 1-star review because this, or this. And then I went there and I experienced the same things that these people did, probably. Because they're well, I was only there for 2 nights, blah, blah, blah. And they said this, and I'm where the hell is this coming from? I do not see any of these issues. And it wasn't with clientele. It was with the room, and it was with all this other stuff. I'm dude, Like, put it in perspective. Like,
yeah, that sounds like one of those types of reviews where they base their judgment off of an experience with a different type of hotel that is like it's like apples and oranges type of comparison.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be, if we decide to do this, which I think we may, it's not us shitting on people. It's us looking at something critically. It's us, like, doing a peer review, like, for medical stuff. It is what we essentially be doing. Yeah. I
can't guarantee that I will not shit on the reviewer
if
they really leave a wretched review.
Yeah, and 100%. And if someone leaves a really overly positive review, I want to do so. I hate Rotten Tomatoes, guys. I do. Rotten Tomatoes is a broken system for a number of reasons, and if you don't know why, there's a billion articles. I'm not going to get completely into it, but it can be swayed very easily. And Rotten Tomatoes is owned by Warner Brothers, if you didn't know. Or Warner Brothers parent company. If you
Time Warner.
Yeah, it's owned by Time Warner, which is also an issue that you'll probably know why that's an issue. So, I would love to review Rotten Tomatoes reviews of a film. Not review the film per se, but I mean talk about the film or talk about the thing, but then review what people said and why that's an unfair criticism. Like, there's a channel on YouTube called Cinema Sins, and they just go way too hard into films. They're like, oh, this is like blah, 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 blah. Or like, too much exposition, one sin, too little this. I'm like, that's not a fair review, because you can't weigh everything against each other in the same standard.
Right, and, talking about this, like, I went and saw the most recent Halloween movie this weekend.
Oh, how was it?
And, I want to see it again now, because my initial reaction is not that positive.
Really?
And this is coming from a big horror movie fan, someone that's very excited for this movie. And I don't even think it's not like my expectations were too high. It's just more of I saw a lot of things wrong with the movie. It was competently made, but just a lot of things brought me out of it quickly and rubbed me the wrong way.
Interesting. Okay. That's a very interesting criticism of the film. Uh-oh. Is Ben not there? Let's see. Oh, Ben's calling me back. I'm leaving this in, guys. And Ben is back. Hey, Ben.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. So you said competently made.
Yes, it's very competently made. David Gordon Green is a good director. Just a lot of the things about it just felt off.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to careen this podcast down a different road. But yeah, but anyway, connecting that back to our reviewer thing is, I'm just wondering if I'm unfairly making comparisons that I shouldn't be making, and that's why my enjoyment of the movie was so low. So I want to watch it again and maybe have maybe a fresher, clearer mindset, and to see if I might enjoy it more.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% know what you're talking about, and I agree, and that's why I'd like to do that series, because it gives you an interesting look at what people think, and it gives you an interesting look at the product, whether it be a film, book, movie, product, a non-tangible thing. And it makes you look at that. It makes you look at what people really say and why people are saying that. And it lets you decipher through that. And it gives you almost a third perspective on something. Because if you walk out of a movie theater and then you write something online, most of the time they're going to be irrational on both ends of the spectrum. You're going to be like, I love this movie, it's the greatest thing ever, or I hated it. And that's not everyone, but a lot of people are like that. And because that's why they're typing online and hearing from two random people on hey, let's look at the middle here. It might give an interesting perspective. So I think that's something we may do as a recurring segment. And we can call it Let's Review That Review.
Yeah, we should implement this within the next few episodes.
Yeah, let's do it. I think that, and then once I figure out that buzzer game, I know you can do it over the internet because people have done stuff like this, and I want to do that. And we can do the Rotten Tomatoes drinking game, even though I don't like Rotten Tomatoes. We can do it with the buzzer.
Yes.
Because there's no way you guys would
Step
believe.
away real quick while I sneeze.
No, yeah, it's okay. And it's really hard to believe, like, even though I don't really drink, it's hard to believe that people on podcasts are really drinking unless they go blackout on the show, and then you're like, oh, okay, these guys are actually drinking. So that's hard to do on the podcast, but if you're physically causing each other harm and pain, you can do that, and that always gets a laugh.
Sorry, I'm back, yes.
Yeah, yeah, those are all good things. And I think it's really interesting to talk about this in the podcast so that people understand where our minds are. Because I know a lot of podcasts where things will just change and something will happen. You're like, wait, what? Why is this like this? And they don't ever explain it. And I like being fully, fully transparent.
In the know.
Yeah, in the know about it. Ben, are you doing No Shave November?
I'm doing no shave because I don't want to fucking do it.
I'm going to do No Shave November. I did it last year because I was Bob Ross for Halloween, for those of you who didn't know. Because my beard is really dark when I do grow it out. And I started in the middle of October, and then I went to the middle of November, and I'm like, this is getting too long and gross. But I think this year I have my lines on my beard perfect right now. I figured out how to shave the lines into my cheeks without looking like a scrub. I figured out the trick. Ben, do you know the trick?
What is the trick?
So I looked up online. You take like a note card or a piece of paper and you line it up from where your sideburn starts to move down your face. So like your sideburn is straight and there's a point where it starts to angle down your cheek. You go from that line to your lip, the middle of your lips, and or the bottom of your lip or upper lip, wherever angle you want the line to be, and you shave above that line. So you put a note card there and you just shave above the note card. And it creates the lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going for more or less the just letting it grow freely and occasionally kind of upkeeping it, trimming it up a little bit. But
yeah.
I actually might go with like the Grizzly Adams, like getting a little bit longer there.
Nice.
Just because I no longer have someone telling me you need to shave.
Yeah. See, I can't grow. This is bad radio for all the guys listening or women listening who know a man with a beard. I can't grow facial hair on the two spots under my lower lip around my soul patch. Yeah, I can't. I can't grow there, and then I have like the two divots right next to my mustache line where my cheek goes in. So I have the two little spots there. And I mean, when you grow your facial hair out, that fills in. But when I get like the longer beard, you have these blank spots, and it looks really funky. But yours is more full than mine is right now. But also, you probably haven't shaved. And I shaved 4 days ago. And this is like 4 days worth of growth.
I have only like trimmed about a week ago, but I haven't actually like shaved. So yeah, it's gonna. I'm just gonna let it go wild and free for a little while.
Ben, for those of you who don't know, Ben shaves his head. And Ben, do you have a lot of gray hairs or no?
Gray hairs?
Yeah.
If I let it grow out a little bit, yeah, you'll start to see kind of that like hint of gray in there. Mm-hmm. Especially my beard. Like I'll get some stray grays like all over the place. But it's not like anything crazy yet.
Really? You can tell in this camera I have all this gray up here. Ben is also 7 years older than me and definitely has less gray hair than me. And like on this side especially, I know this is bad radio, but I have a white strip in my hair. It is just pure white on both sides. So I have for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you know Doctor Strange, how he has the white sides? I am starting to get those. And my hair right now looks like the Doctor Strange length. So, yeah. But I don't think I can pull off that kind of goatee. I don't think I'd look good with it. I'd look like crazy. But I am growing my hair out, guys. For those of you on this podcast who cannot see me, I am growing my hair out. I'm going
It's getting wintertime. We need protection.
It is. I have to go grizzly bear style. And, I mean, I'm not going to grow my beard out longer than... who's a good beard length? You know, like Nick Offerman from Parks and Rec? like that length of. I know he only has a mustache, but when he has his beard, it's like it's not down. It's just like kind of there. It's
full.
Yeah, it's a full beard. That's what I'm going for. And then my hair. You guys know who Tom Holland is, like Spider-Man, like Marvel Spider-Man, the new one. That kind of hair length is what I'm going for on top.
Okay.
Just so I've always had really short hair. I went to an all-guys Catholic school where we had to have short hair. Not like military short, but like professional short.
Yeah.
And now that I am in the film industry and I don't have to do that, I can grow out my facial hair and my head hair, and I think it looks a little better on me, and I don't look like a 15-year-old with gray hair.
Oh, I know all about it. 6 years in the military, having to keep a clean-shaven face for all 6 years of it. As soon as I got out, I'm like, nope, I'm not touching this face. I'm going to let it just do its thing for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, since I've been out for about a year and a half now, but yeah, I've shaved it every now and then, but I'm ready for this beautiful thing to just have a life of its own now.
Yeah, I do agree. Like, as soon as I was in college, I'm like, I'm going to mess with my facial hair. And there's a while where I had a mustache, which was a big mistake. And I don't have the face for a cool mustache. For those of you who don't know what I look like, I don't have a very chiseled face. I don't know. I don't think I have a fat face, but I don't have like a chiseled jaw. And I feel like if you have a really chiseled jaw, you can have a mustache, but I do not. My face looks like an egg. So a mustache on an egg looks really dumb. At least on me. And then my mom and Emma, my girlfriend, both were like, you look disgusting. And basically peer pressured me into shaving it off. So
we have to fight that. We have to fight that peer pressure.
I know. I really want to do mustache march this year and look really like I just want to have full and then trim the beard down and keep the mustache long. And because if I go clean shaven, I know we're just talking about facial hair now, guys. Thanks for listening. I get ingrown hairs on my face and it looks like I'm 16 and I have really bad acne. That's what happens. I can't shave my facial hair all the way down because it'll make my face break out like really bad. And it looks really unprofessional for things like I had to do some TA stuff at Purdue. And I was like, oh, I should probably shave. And that's the last time I clean shaved. And that was in 2016. So, yeah, so I've had some sort of stubble since 2016 because I realized if I don't, it is bad news bears. And for everyone out there, I know almost everyone listening to this shaves unless you're like 13. And if you are 13, you are lucky. I am sorry for what's about to happen to your body. Everyone knows what ingrown hairs feel like. And for the ladies out there, hopefully you've never had ingrown hairs on your face. And if you have, you know my pain and you know Ben's pain. Ben, do you get ingrown hairs on your head?
Actually don't. Like the scalp skin is pretty, it's a lot more thick and rough.
Oh.
Compared to like cheek and neck skin. The worst place for me to shave is definitely my neck. That's where I'll get nicks cut and ingrown hairs like crazy. But when you did shave your face, did you use like, the common like Gillette, like 5-blade type thing?
Yeah. I don't like shaving with a blade in general. On my neck right now, I did. I always get scared that I'm going to kill myself. For real. Like, I always get scared I'm going to kill myself. So, I do when I need a clean shave, like on the top here, I will. And when I clean shaved, I did, and it was weird. It was so strange having like a shaven face. But in general, I use like a clippers or what do you call it? It's like there's like
electric razor.
Yeah, like the head comes off, and you can have like the one with the row. You can have like the buzzer. There's like a bunch of different attachments, and I have that, and that's what I use. And that like you can get the lines perfect. Even though I don't do like the super clean lines, I know some guys really like that like crazy like sharp edge line thing. I don't. I think it looks silly on me. I go for a little more of the I didn't try, but I did try kind of thing. But I have friends who like go crazy on their like cheek lines, and I'm like, dude, how are you gonna keep that up? Because like in 5 hours, 5 o'clock shadow, that's not gonna look that cool. And that's why I can't do like goatees, because you have to like maintain it all the time, and I'm just lazy. but I think, have you ever done St. Baldrick's, or is that not a thing in Indiana?
St. Baldrick's. Don't believe I know about it.
Okay, so it always happens on my birthday. For those of you who don't know, my birthday is right before St. Patrick's Day. It's on March 15th. And St. Baldrick's was started either in New York and Chicago, or in Chicago by firemen or cops. And it's like St. Patrick, but Baldrick. You shave your head and donate money to support kids with cancer.
Oh, okay.
And it's like in solidarity kind of thing. And it was always before my birthday. So all through high school, I shaved my head every March. And yeah, I was just wondering if you ever did that, if that was like a thing. I don't know how big St. Baldrick's Foundation is, because in Chicago at least, it's a really, really big thing.
I've heard of people doing that around here. I just can't grow enough hair on my head to make it worth, like, it would just, they would be getting like stubble shavings.
Yeah.
At this point, like, yeah, because I started going bald when I was like 16.
Really?
Yeah, I started to get the receding hairline, the wicked receding hairline when I was 16. By the time I was like 19 or 20, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to start shaving this thing.
This is a very personal question, but whatever. We're all very personal on this. Do you have a lot of body hair as well?
I really don't.
Yeah, see, I don't have any hair on my arms. If people think I shave my arms, I have 0 arm hair, and I have like 0 chest hair, but I have really hairy legs, which is weird. And I've heard if you're really hairy on your body and have a lot of testosterone, you're more likely to lose your hair. I don't know if that's true at all, but I've heard it from more than one source at different times. So I'm like, maybe there's something to that. But I know your mom's dad is where you get that gene from.
I've heard that as well. I never knew my mother's biological father because she didn't either.
Oh, okay.
So we basically, that's kind of just like, well, it's probably how it is.
Yeah.
But every guy on my dad's side of the family is bald.
See, I'm adopted, so I have no idea. It is a luck of the draw for Russell. But my dad has hair, and we're not genetically related, so that does me no good. But yeah, my dad, my dad doesn't grow a beard because my mom doesn't like beards, but I want my dad to grow a beard. I've never seen him with facial hair, and I really want my dad to grow a beard. That's like a thing that I want. I need to have him, Ben, you need to help me come up as a father, Ben. You need to start saying that on this podcast. As a father, I think, because you know what people hate more than anything on podcasts? What someone has to say as a father. So Ben,
as a father.
Yeah, Ben, as a father, what kind of bet would get my dad to grow his facial hair?
What kind of bet?
Like, what kind of bet could I have him hold up, like a win-lose thing? Like, Dad, if you lose this or win this, you got to grow out your facial hair, because I've always wanted him to. Think on it.
Does that really connect to me being a father, though?
No, it does not in any way. I'm just being an asshole about it. Actually, on that, as a father, how old would you want your kids to be for them to listen to this show? What is the minimum age you would have them?
Probably like, I guess the milestone age is like 13 or 16.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because at the rate that I cuss in front of them, even though I do try and work on that, my kids are going to be like saying pretty nasty words by the time they're 10.
Oh, they're going to be like little sailors.
Yeah, but I don't think we get into like stuff that I would be like, no, you guys don't need to listen to that. Yeah,
I really actively try not to, because on the internet, you never know who's listening to your stuff, whether it be a kid or anyone. So I don't ever try to say something really, really disgusting or really dirty, just because I know this is weird. If you're listening, hi, cousins. My cousin Joyce and my Aunt Kate at Christmas were listening to my podcast when I walked in, or they were like just turned it off, and they have small kids around your kid's age. And I was like, oh no, I say things on this are very incriminating. I don't want my family to know about all this. So I do try to censor myself a little bit. Like, there are certain stories or certain pieces of stories that I will leave out until I'm in a personal position or getting paid enough for this show where I'm like, I don't care what you think of me. But until that point, I will definitely leave out parts of stories or not name people's names. But yeah, that was this episode. Ben, do you want to do our first review of a review next week's episode?
Let's do it. Do you want to just bring our own in? Like each of us bring in one completely blind of the other person's?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring in... Okay, so here's how we're going to do this, guys, for the format. We're going to explain now, we're going to explain then. So Ben and I are each going to bring one in, and we're going to text it to each other. We will drop the link in the description of that podcast, and we're going to have our own, mentally formulated review, and then we're going to send it to the other person to see what they think, and then debate. So it's like you bring your own cards to the table and then show the other person, and then you go from there. So I think that's how we're going to do our review of a review, and we can do that, every few episodes, every episode. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Take 10, 15 minutes to do it.
Yeah. But yeah, this is this episode, which is, I think it's episode 49 or 50. But yeah, for everyone listening, thank you for listening. For Ben, thank you for being on. For Emma, when you're on, thank you for being on. And when you're not, thank you for supporting the show. If you like the show, share it. Ben, close us out. Oh, wait, bye-bye, guys. Ben, close it out.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. As Russell said, thank you for listening. Thank you, Emma, for listening. Russell, I'll put out a personal thank you for being as flexible as you have been with definitely some of my stuff. But yeah, this has been See What Sticks, a show about everything and nothing. Hope to...
Uh-oh, we lost Ben. Wait, Ben, we lost you. Say that last word again.
This has been See What Sticks, a show about everything and nothing. Thanks for tuning in with us. We hope to catch you next week. See you guys later.